Hey, welcome back to the God XP Spiritual Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Polanco, but you can call me MP. This is the consciousness expanding, enlightenment increasing show for seekers by seekers. Each month, I get to interview one guest who is making a creative contribution to raising consciousness. And through conversation, I hope to discover spiritual wisdom and truth that you and I can both use to increase our own physical, mental, and spiritual vitality. Very honored to bring you Chelsee Ramos of Elev8ed Movement. She's a yoga teacher, dancer, among many other things, puts together these amazing in-person events merging yoga, music, and dance. And I am really excited to learn her principles of embodiment and alignment that have allowed her to create such a unique contribution to our world. So, without further ado, Chelsee Ramos. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the God XP Spiritual Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Polanco. You can call me Aunt P. This is the consciousness expanding, enlightenment increasing show for seekers by seekers. Each month, I'm lucky to interview another guest that's doing creative contribution to our world in raising consciousness. Very honored to have Miss Chelsee Ramos. She is the Yogi Shuffler. Chelsee is raising consciousness with yoga and dance through Elev8ed Movement. You can attend live events, learn online through courses and monthly challenges. Chelsee and I are acquaintances for a few years now. And I'm continuously inspired by her passion for merging dance and yoga and connecting with others, and her ability to just merge these things in a way that allows her to experience a unique and aligned offering to the world. And I hope to continue to learn from her growth and success, living an embodied life full of music, dance, and love. You can follow Chelsee at inher.space and Elev8ed movement on Instagram to learn more. Chelsee, how are you?
Hey, wow, that was so beautiful. Yeah, well, thank you, thank you. Like literally, that was beautiful. I feel so pinned right now. I am amazing. It's so good to be here with you. We were just like chatting before. I was like, "Is the podcast starting? What are we doing?" Like we were just
Yeah.
flowing immediately. So good to connect with you here. I felt called to your energy literally right off the bat of seeing you in that space and the way that you were presenting yourself. I can tell the divine masculine is moving within you, and it's really a pleasure to connect. I just did a little flow, collected my breath. We were just talking about the struggles of being entrepreneur creators and what comes along with that and the work that it takes to manifest the dreams.
It's an honor. It's an honor to finally connect with you. And it's like you said, technology is like it's on one hand amazing for getting you into the right circles and the in alignment with where you're going in
Mhm.
life. And yet at the same time, like it in itself is like a paradox. It brings you so much anxiety and stress trying to master it and grapple with it. So it's amazing how even in 2022, how difficult and frustrating technology can be.
Right, right. Seriously, we think we have it together by now. But yeah, it definitely continues to balance you. I feel like even when it is giving the struggle, usually that struggle is presenting itself because maybe I didn't wake up and do my yoga that day because I knew I
Hmm.
had to make my thing happen today. It's very funny how it just like bops you on the head with a slow down. But you're really frustrated that it's being so slow. It's very funny how full circle it is. It's all for us, right? Not to us. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
it's been a day. It's been a weekend. I had an elevated event this weekend that I was starting to tell you about. It was really special. I feel like elevated is has so many facets, but like we were just talking about, I'm really feeling called by my home community space and what's building here. And it just didn't exist here at all before. So it's something that like I've built from the literal ground up. And I know
Mhm.
if I can, I've done a lot of that in art, right? Starting from nothing and creating something. But I know that I can never say besides elevated itself, which is connected through the internet. So it's worldwide. I've never physically brought things together from the ground up. I'm 1 year into that event. I'm about 2 years into like the community forming itself here. And I've never felt like so in line. Like, yes, there is resistance naturally. Like you're in your home space where like sometimes it's like growing through rocks, like where you come from, like it's
Right,
just how it
right.
goes. It like tries to keep you where you were at. So, um, there's like this resistance to what I'm doing here, but that resistance and that like fear actually can be such a like guiding light of like, holy crap, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's why
For
everything's
sure.
trying to keep you from doing it and rebalance.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, so you just had your 1-year anniversary show last 2 nights
Yeah,
ago?
Sunday night we do Sunday sessions. So this is like a fancy Sunday session, and we do it at a really cool club here called Crucible. And the owner of it, I can't remember where he's from right now, if it slips me, but Europe, Netherlands maybe, knows how to club is what I'll say. And Madison doesn't surely know how to club. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. Um, Midwest is really cultured in techno and house music, obviously coming from
Mhm,
Chicago and Detroit. So the scene is like super, super underground, but we don't really have like a club, right? So this is club space that actually like holds space for communities like mine. And they've been really like awesome in like helping us create that space and create something completely new. So I've been able to teach classes leading into an entire event where I book 4 DJs to come and like do an entire event there.
yes.
This is the first one that we threw a dance battle at, which is just so cool. And elevated movement is rooted in yoga. So it's the understanding of the 8 limbs of yoga and understanding how like this is a lifestyle and this is a dance with life. And this is like how we move through everything. So, there's yeah, it's so multifaceted. Like that event looks completely different than the workshop that I just threw in Sedona. Like they
Mhm.
are like targeted at different crowds of people, but connecting these worlds. Like I think ravers are actually really conscious that choose a sometimes different paths. And vice versa. There's like yogis who don't quite understand that they're dancers. Like
Right.
for me, everything is a dance. When I'm washing my dishes, I'm dancing. When I'm like, and it's just like the way in which you choose to dance with life and understand that your walk and talk and breathing is art. Um, it just changes everything. So that's like truly what Elevated's about. And this event is like the most biggest gravitating thing that I've had flowing around me for especially our Madison space because we have stuff like this sometimes in different areas, but never anything like this. So
Wow.
conscious raving.
That's so amazing. I found you through an online, yoga teaching course
Mhm.
a few years ago. In multiple teacher trainings I've kept up with, a few people who just rocketed off, like, with an idea of a really unique contribution, and just to see the progress that you've made in the last year, 2 years. Now when I look at the content, there's just a bunch of people and they all love it. You've created a real community. That's, it's really unique and interesting. Like, how did you feel like the space of yoga was very crowded? How did you find your place, and how did you, like, create that place for yourself?
I love that. Okay. Yeah. So Elevated is really special because, well, first of all, it is not a small idea. It's crazy to me. Like I'm pretty clairsentient, so I feel things and I'm feeling things my whole life very intensely. So like this name, like this, I didn't make this. I did not choose this. I did not like logic brain create. This was given to me. Like this is a totally a channel. So much so that like imposter syndrome comes up and is like, who do you think you are? And like I get checked all the time of like what this really is. So this came to me and it actually came to me as a retreat space where I linked both of these things and taught people basically the slowest and most controlled breaths I understand and the fastest, right? Both getting into this meditative movement.
Yo, I'm glad you're enjoying the podcast, but I think it's important for you to know that there's a free weekly newsletter as well. Find out when the next podcast comes out as soon as it does. Get free discounts on upcoming events, products in the God XP store, and some additional spiritual wisdom as well. Look, it's completely free. Go to godxp.substack.com and leave your email, read past episodes, leave a comment and a like on some of your favorites, and we can be in touch there. So I appreciate you for listening to the God XP Spiritual Fitness Podcast. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Space, but totally different experiences. I learned things from shuffling that I could have never learned from yoga, but I don't think I could have received them from shuffle if I hadn't experienced yoga. In my background, I'm an acrobat. I have been flipping my entire life. I was a cheerleader, and then I did it at like a professional level for the Milwaukee Bucks here. So just a lot of flipping, a lot of alignment, a lot of understanding of my body. So I think I knew a lot of the hard part of yoga, right? Like not the why behind the movement, but an understanding of the movement. So once I stopped cheering after injury and like some mental health stuff, I just like got away from that after like from 7 years old until like 22 out of my life.
Okay.
I started just like literally moving around on a mat and like connecting with my body in that way. And it took me like a little while to understand that I was doing yoga. Um, and then once I understood I was doing yoga on this yoga mat, I started to look into it a little bit more. But my focus has never, this is kind of bad as a yogi to say, but like I learn from the school, I read the books, I know what I'm talking about and make sure that I'm a safe practitioner. I would love to know culture better, to know it deeply. But my connection with yoga is much more connection to self and source. And I like to teach people how to get embodied in their body so that they can connect to that and heal themselves because we are our own healers. So I'm a little bit unorthodox, but I think it's the new orthodox of yoga. I'm not one thing. I can teach you alignment and fundamentals and law of alignment in your body and what that pertains to in your life and then projection of life through that. Um, but yoga space is, when you ask, is it crowded? Like it is. It's funny because this account, Inner Space, used to be Chelsea Moves. And when I created Chelsea Moves was right when I started shuffling because you take so many freaking videos of yourself dancing to figure out if you're any good at this or how to do the move that like, holy crap, there's so too many videos. I needed a dump place, but I also had to hide from everyone else in my life. So new account created for the dump space of shuffling. And then like naturally I'm like, whoa, I'm a cool mover. I should share my movement here. Hence Chelsea Moves, not Chelsea Shuffles. Um, so I started putting yoga on there too. But how Instagram works is like the more you're multifaceted, the more it's not really going to help you. You need to be very focused on like what you're doing. So shuffling is the one that hits. But I noticed the more that I share yoga and other things, it's actually like polluting the shuffling, making my shuffling even like flop more. So it's interesting. It has niched itself. Like there's a niche of yogi shufflers that are like, whether they like one or the other, or they're in one or the other's calling to them. That's why they are with me. You know what I mean? It's pretty interesting. I didn't really, again, like choose it necessarily. I've thought about even creating a new yoga page so that I can reach into that community more. But yeah, it kind of happened itself. I knew I wanted to do them both, but I think that's been part of the struggle as well as part of the niching of the community that are like, yes, me too. I like these two.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. That's like, I think so many creative people's like greatest struggle and also opportunity is like merging field and just like trusting that there's other people out there who are gonna find you. That's like the superpower of the internet is like it really will put the thing in front of you that's uniquely
Truly.
if you keep looking, you know?
It's like studying you to do that, right? Like, it's like
Yeah.
literally trying to figure you out best to show you what, I'll try to sell you things first, but also show you what you like. So being intentional about like what we're following, what we're like, how, like, this is a tool and like, you can like literally take us over or like we can make it work for us. And I struggle with that balance sometimes, just like everybody else, especially like having it be my work and my play. It's funny. I wanted to start the podcast and make sure the podcast was started as soon as I started to ask about you. I was like, wait, hold up. Like, you are doing such cool stuff, dude. Like, please, can you just tell me a little bit about what you're doing? What started it? Where, like, is music in your background? Like, it's so cool. I want it to be like with Elev8ed in space. Like, it is so cool. I want to dance to it.
Heck yeah. No, I appreciate that. You know, like it's like you were saying earlier about like finding your niche and like the punishment of not having that niche. As an artist and a creator, I'm always jumping from one thing to another. And I feel like the last 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer, has been just like a orbit around a couple of things, like the music just the speaking about spirituality, trying to inspire people to um, kind of like deal with existential anxiety. I grew up a Christian missionary and I've been playing music since I was 4. So playing in worship bands and then traveling and speaking, doing evangelism. And when I'm 23, I had like this existential crisis after ideating suicide and just feeling really depressed for a long time. I had like a second spiritual awakening around 25. That's when I started God XP, and it was like kind of trying to document my spiritual journey. But I've had a really hard time. Like, how do I want to contribute? I just didn't know if I wanted to like give another
Mhm.
ideology out. So I've been very much like hesitant with how I identify and
Mhm.
how I like market myself on the internet, but I've tried to like curate and share as much as I can. And I think I've in the last year really started to hone it down. I realized that like music is the oldest thing I have and the thing that I inherently have in me. If I can get people to experience music with me, then the healing can kind of just work itself out. I
Mhm.
think just focusing on music and then sharing stories about transformation through the podcast and, anything else I can do. But mostly, I've been really just committing to making music that is the best I can, which is something I haven't done
Mhm.
in a long time. I've been constantly like battling self-doubt with music. Should I do music? Should I focus on something else? And I just realized like, if I keep working on other things that are adjacent to what I love, but I never commit to the thing that I truly love and truly want to give, like I felt like I was getting ready to give, like making myself better. And like I really probably just needed 3 months of that, but I spent like 6 years trying to get good enough.
Mhm.
So, I finally just decided, like, I'm just gonna start giving the thing that I feel like I should give, and, that's been a progressive journey, but the last year or so has been, you know, it's just been a lot more peace and contribute the thing that I'm uniquely here to contribute. So, music, the podcast, and, any other creative, like, any kind of creative that I can put out and create. I love making videos. I love writing. And I'm constantly creating and fighting the urge to like identify with one thing for too long.
Mhm.
Just create what's on my heart and give it away. And that just allows me to grow. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm at. Just encouraging, I guess, encouraging people, but I'm really just trying to live. And I think that naturally just motivates people.
It's inspiring to watch somebody, like, fully living and creating their life, and, like, it's either inspiring or really triggering, right? And, like,
For
either
sure.
which way is so important. Thank you for being a warrior of that, right? Like, self-love enough to, like, follow that passion and whatever, like, the curation process was for you. 6 years was really important. You didn't waste a single minute of it, right? Like, you just became a higher version of self to give.
For
Arguably,
sure.
we're never at the wrong stage to give, though, but some people force themselves into giving before they are ready. And, like, that honestly
Yeah.
isn't really helpful to them or if whoever they're giving to either. So it's beautiful that you knew you had to like build yourself up in order to give the way that you wanted to give. Was
Yeah.
clearly
I
like
think
you're
that's
here
it.
to do that. We all are, right? Like we all are here
For
to give.
sure.
It's a lot of stress to figure out like how to give, like which area will I give best. I think
Hmm.
that's so beautiful. 'Cause I'm like moving through that same exact thing. I keep trying to be consistent in one of these areas so that I can build it and give to it consistently. But I realize like I am a flowy ass human that can't stay attached to like anything for too long at all. So it's honestly best if I'm in my own space and like I'm giving where it feels right to be giving at that time always. Like that's just like a really divine feminine quality to like tap into that inner like knowing and flow so that you're not forcing, you're not grinding, you're not. And like it's funny because we kind of started this conversation out with like your passion and your like, although you love the podcast and it comes with so much flow, it's still work to put it together and do the thing and get it out and fight with the internet if you have to, right? Like it's still part of the process because if everything was just flow and joy, we have no duality and polarity, and then it just doesn't make any sense. So like it's gonna naturally
Yeah.
come with that bit of resistance always, but it's so cool to know that people are out here speaking on true embodiment. Like that is true embodiment. You are truly in your body to know whether that feels right for you to be doing, and you're not forcing yourself to do it. You're just freely creating and letting that go. Um, it's inspiring. That is very inspiring to me as well.
And I appreciate you letting me share it. And yeah, I feel like just as artists, it's just like a part of life to just become possessed by this vision that you have for like what could be, what true reality you can create out of nothing. And it truly feels like I've been kind of possessed by my future self, like trying to pull
Mhm.
me, throughout the years, like, hey, it's going to be rough. You're going to feel lost and blind sometimes, but just keep going. And that like agreement with like the unconscious that we have to give to get the future that we want, we can see for ourselves is just that's like the beautiful dance of life. I think it's just
Mhm.
really just trusting.
Truly trusting, like leaning all the way in and allowing yourself to be led by that knowing. It's been interesting to balance that too. I've been like trying to escape the word balance because it's just like endless. It's an endless game of finding that where like harmony, I've been pulling in harmony a lot more and understanding I can have full harmony wherever I'm at in balance. And
Right.
that truly feels like balance, like what I
I
actually have
love
been
that.
seeking in balance. Just letting myself sleep and rest. I don't really have a problem with sleep, but like not feeling bad about myself
Right.
in like fully resting, like truly resting for whatever span that is, whatever. Yeah, being mindful about rest as a movement practice has like literally saved my life. I don't even know if I
That's
could
huge.
keep doing what I'm doing now if I didn't understand that.
That's huge. Yeah, I think it's easy for us to forget that like not moving is still doing something.
Mhm.
We're like it happens to me. I'm guilty of it too. Like I have less and less time to meditate until I have no time to meditate. And then I wonder why my life sucks. It's like I never have enough time. I never have enough energy. But yet when I was spending hours meditating and doing yoga, like I had plenty of time for everything and I was way more effective. So that idea that like just not moving is doing, you're actually doing one of the most powerful actions you can by
Like
resting.
literally creating space. Like you're actually creating space. Like we manipulate time in such wild ways, right? Like exactly what you're
Mm,
saying. If you don't even have time to make space for yourself, like first thing in the day, why would the universe grant you time for anything else in the day? Like, it
right,
literally just
right.
like, yeah, full circle, big fat circle. So, I feel it. And rest has been lovely. It's been a season. This whole year, I feel like we increasingly are getting more chaotic after like our 2020 like fucking shake up. Um, it's like wild to truly be choosing peace amongst genuine chaos. Like
Right.
powerful like lessons I've been learning in yoga for 7 years are just like really just so present in my face, making
Yeah.
me all that much more of an elevated teacher, like how to like truly speak to somebody from a place of understanding, regardless of context of situation. This is universal truth.
That's huge. Yeah, I totally agree. I couldn't have predicted how long it was going to take. And the powers and tools that I've gained through yoga have totally come into play out of necessity and not just out of like luxury. It's like we're really in the trenches now.
Mhm.
And
Spiritual warfare,
um,
truly.
it doesn't feel like it's real when you're in abundance and when everything's going great. But then when the world goes to shit, that's when you realize, like, oh, wow, it's a constant daily battle.
For ourselves, but also like what honestly gets me to show up on my mat more is understanding that if I don't, I'm literally failing you like hardcore.
Right.
And that for
Right.
me, I could sleep for like a week and feel okay. But like understanding that like showing up daily for my people is like really important and we are one. And it's just like vital right now. We're like at a like literal spiritual war and like we always have been. But right now I feel like we're in the trenches around the front line. We're like really fighting for our like space around us, and how we're curating that and how we're choosing to spread that. And yeah, like intentionally create space and like for others too, so that they can learn how to create space themselves. Like as
Yes,
a, you
that's
are a warrior
huge.
of that as well. Like you're here to do that as well. And it's really freaking cool. And it's so cool that like music, because music obviously has its part in yoga, but not like fully right. But we're clearly
Mhm.
two people that said like, no, yoga doesn't really exist without music. Like this is like it's part of this whole dance of life. And it's so cool that we both have like leaned into that because music is everything. I mean, I think a lot of people just, well, okay, chanting is a huge part of yoga, and I feel lean into that being music too. But some people like even try to disassociate that. It's weird to see people's blocks and stuff
Sure.
all just frequencies and vibrations in song or chant. And like how powerful that is, and how if you dis like silence is beautiful too for its own thing, but like it's like, again, really freaking cool to know that you are creating that space. It really can be everything. Like it can be the full guide of the space. And I like to like lean all into that when I teach more advanced classes. I like to prompt a lot more and allow them to like let the music be the teacher with my like prompted whatever. So like fully just tapping in, tuning in, and surrendering to whatever frequency that might be is so cool. And you are probably very intentional about how you create those frequencies.
That's amazing that you say that because I started my own event, not too unlike, except for, with music. And I have a few shows coming up this weekend. I've been thinking, like, should I lead it more like a class? And how much yoga should I teach? How much meditation should I guide? The first one I did last month, I just, like you said, let the music be the entire, like, experience, and it went really well. And I think that, like, hearing you say that, the music can be the entire guide. Well, even silence, even the sound of silence is a ringing.
Yes.
Like if you just listen to silence, you start to hear the inner sounds of your
Mhm.
body. So you can never truly escape sound. So just to be the, I guess, the facilitator of a sound that can truly guide, and it feels like really well, it's just such an organic carnal thing. Like I don't have to say anything. People get it.
Mhm.
It was interesting. As soon as I started like sound checking like 5 minutes before the show, the energy in the room shifted. People got quiet. People started either doing yoga or laying down and just getting themselves ready for the experience that I hadn't even introduced or said what we were going to be
Mhm.
doing. It felt like the music was speaking for me.
Mhm.
I would definitely want to continue that. As you said it, I'm like, yeah, she's right. The music is the guide, and I'm lucky enough to be the facilitator of that.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. Yeah, it's so cool to know that it is all energetic, so you don't have to speak. But it's also really freeing to know that this is your entire experience. And maybe right now, like because the music is like the most important part of the whole thing, that's where all of your energy goes. But maybe it gets to a point that like you know exactly how you're curating these spaces, and you know exactly when you want to speak because words are also really
Right.
powerful, and your voice itself tuning is like right. So like like as it evolves you evolve, the process evolves, like it is endless and it is limitless, and like it could go in any direction. But yeah, you have every permission to like let the music do all of the work because it's where like to stay in alignment with your own self and truth. Like it's where it's effortlessly pouring from right now. Better at that myself of like getting out of my head and what I think they want or think they would want or how this could be better or whatever, but really just like listening and seeing what is working and what is received and what to lean more into, even though that might go against my ego and wanting it to be a certain way. And truly, it's just being
Right.
received in the way that we create effortlessly.
For sure.
Staying as true to you is going to be the easiest to create a space that is all inclusive, like whatever it might be for the person. And the more that you're staying in tune with the space, it's as if you're up there playing, but really you're walking around the space energetically checking in on everyone. And what do they need? What does this person need? And where energetics, if in flow, is in the oneness and healing them actively. But as soon as that logic kicks in, we try to figure out what we need to be doing instead of, and then we lost it, right? We stepped out of that moment.
For
So
sure.
yeah, I'm that. that balance for me, I'm trying to find that where logic is setting the structure and allowing the flow, but it
Yeah, it's so
helps.
funny. It's like
Yes.
freestyling, right? It's like as soon as you get self-conscious, like people are listening or people watching, now you're the flow breaks and now you're one step behind or two
Mhm,
steps
mhm,
behind, you know? And it's just it's being in the moment. Like whether you're performing music or dancing, it's like if you're not in the moment, you go up to the head and you spend time self-conscious, like you lose
mhm,
that relationship with the moment, you
mhm.
know?
I just think we don't talk about that enough because it almost takes energy away from the masculine energy. But I totally disagree. I think the masculine energy is what got us there in the first place. The
Mm.
drills, it's the hours put in. It's the actual like nitty gritty that like made us able to give what we're about to give, but that like giving and like true flow of knowing what the moment needs really just feels like very feminine, very present, very like
Wow. Yeah. That's fascinating. Like you have to be in your masculine to be projecting into the future and put
mhm,
investing in the
mhm,
future. But in the moment you are making a pact with your unconscious like to take over,
mhm,
you know, it's like the flow state in the
mhm,
zone, right? You have to have that agreement with your unconscious self. Like, I trust you. I can't be in control up
mhm,
here. Like, I have to just let
mhm,
it happen. You, in your masculine, prepare for the moment. And in your feminine, you are in the moment and you're co
mhm.
creating with the
And it's
moment.
truly that container, right? Like the masculine did the work to hold that so that
Hmm.
can easily just like pour out of you seamlessly. And if it like, if it am in my toxic masculine while I'm training or preparing, like, yo, that feminine is not held and she comes out all wild. Like, it's just really interesting to watch that balance in my life to give space to the masculine and the logic in the time of performance or teaching or flow, right? I feel finally after one whole year of throwing this event, it's like, I'm not saying that any of that was just like beautiful and like seamless. Like, I mean, the whole thing was beautiful, but like, it was not seamless, right? Like, we were all riding together, but like, pure joy and bliss in every single moment, pure presence in every single moment, problem solving, like just flow even through the chaos was just absolutely beautiful. And the things that I've had to go through in my life, both very extreme high, very extreme low, to I feel get to this sense of like presence and like true patience. And then obviously it gets to the other level. I'm like, I'm not patient at all. Right.
Yeah, no, I get that though. I think that's what I was referring to before when I was talking about the beginning of the pandemic. I knew that I was going to have struggle. And I feel lucky, even though it was painful, because I consciously chose the baby that I wanted to
Mhm,
make. I consciously chose to create something new and give birth to it over 2 years. And now I'm in this totally new place that I would never have been in if I would have just fought, like, no, I'm going to keep going in this direction, even though the world around me is crashing. I'm just going to keep trying anyway. I saw the signs. I saw the way the waves were flowing and I just decided to ride with
mhm,
it, you know. Even though I knew chaos was coming, just choosing to trust that you're going to create something good in the future is like the huge part of that. Just like
mhm.
having faith in your ability to kind of get a better future even when you can't
Mhm.
see it.
Understanding that order literally does come out of the chaos. Like it is the never
Hmm.
ending cycle. So it's like truly leaning into the chaos and like I've been using the term like warming my hands in the fire, like thanking whatever is burning currently for its warmth and
Mm,
flame and like understanding that as the ashes settle, like new birth comes and like warmed in the flames and welcoming whatever is coming, simultaneously. So, like, smiling in the face of chaos literally feels insane, but like, whoa, did I actually figure it out? Like, have I literally gone batshit crazy? Or like, is this how we're supposed to be doing this? But like on that same page, like when you get too far into that, it's almost dangerous. Like it's okay to get angry.
right.
There is stuff that should make you angry. And if you don't get angry about that, I'm like questioning, like, wait, what? Let's move through like the feeling because sometimes spirituality can be like a dangerous place of toxic positivity. Like the chaos does bring the order, and after the burning, there is growth, and that's beautiful. And we can almost skip past what we should be feeling in this moment. And it's a way to like
Right.
spiritually numb almost. I've
Mhm.
that in myself. through this with the balancing of loving the flame and riding the chaos because I didn't choose in my control to experience anger before. I'm like being forced to. And it's like less comfortable.
Right.
I should have just done it before.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of people go through that experience. We get a boon, like we get a blessing for pursuing like self
Mhm.
understanding. And once we gain control of our emotions, we're like, oh, here's this blessing. I never have to experience a negative emotion again. It's like when you first start smoking weed, and then you're just like, oh, like this is great. I can do this for everything, you know? And eventually it loses its effect, and now you're not experiencing
Yep.
life. And that's what we do, I think, when we finally get that healing from our like, oh no, I'm stuck in these negative emotions I can never get out. Now it's like you're over indulging in the ability to bypass those negative
Mhm.
emotions. It's like a really good skill to have, but not like a way of
Mhm.
life, you know. I spent years just like never getting mad, and I realized like, wow, I'm basically like a
Mhm.
robot. This is not how humans are supposed
Mhm.
to be. It goes back to that embodiment thing, finding a way to just, realize those things are a part of wholeness and experiencing life.
Negative does not equal bad. Yo, we're in the 3D flesh body, like we are here, like there's going to be like suffering all around. We are constantly learning, and it's not that we shouldn't be sharing where we are currently at in our journey for fear of misguiding somebody else because that's their journey, right?
For
And
sure.
that can eat me alive. Chelsea Moves when it first got born was literally just me sharing like a movement diary. Like, this is how I feel today. I think I look weird, but it's kind of fun, like, like it literally just truly organically like sharing my process of dance. And of course, as the following grew, as Elev8ed grew, as everything grew, I felt responsibility. And that responsibility it is present. It is real. It's not like it's not real, but just because I'm choosing to share my art doesn't mean that I have to hold that responsibility. Like, I can be totally just like, I'm a human, So, like, of course, I'm going to say things that maybe I even regret saying one day, but probably not. It's mostly in alignment with love. I think I was fortunate for teaching at a young age. So, that part for me, I've always just really given whatever I have. But a lot of people fear giving because they're not ready or they're going to like misguide or like whatever. Um, like, we have no idea who needs what we have. Like, we just don't know. And it might be literally one person that had to read your post that day that like literally got pulled out of whatever the hell they're stuck in. Um, and it might have misguided three people on a loop, but they needed to learn that loop for some reason. Like
Right, right.
it's
Either
all
way, for sure. There's been so many times that I've leaned on that
Mhm.
person who's reached out to me and said, like, hey, man, you really saved me in a rough time. Like, even just one person could, it lasted me through some really hard times, just wanting to quit
Mhm.
making content or, whatever I was doing at
Yeah.
the time. So, who do you do it for? Is there a person out there that you feel like, you're responsible for? You said that, um, that you feel responsible to keep creating. What are you giving, or what do you hope that you're giving? Um, and who is that person out there that you hope you're helping?
Truly, the only answer that came to my mind is younger me. Um, I think I give constantly what I needed, like what I always needed. And I think that's kind of what we all do. But I am always aiming to heal her because I know as she heals, um, the process just gets more connected to the oneness, more closer to source. So um, I find that what I tend to just freely give is what I'm currently kind of healing through her, but what that attracts around me and what community forms around me in doing such a thing is so present. And they are I can forget about her. I can forget about little me. Like, it's really easy to like tap out of healing the inner child and like doing the work and but those people around me, like, they're really present. Like, they're right in my face. And like, if I don't show up for them, I understand I'm not showing up for me, but I'm also not showing up for you and the rest of my brothers and sisters everywhere.
Right.
So like, it's truly for the we, it's for us, it's for like elevated movement in its name is truly the understanding of raising conscious awareness and like at whatever mass scale we can do. And it's funny that I just said that because I've almost intentionally kept Elev8ed small because it got so big so fast. It scared the shit out of me. I had imposter syndrome. I was like, I can't live up to what I just created. I understand that it is like the answer, but it also it's scary as shit to just loudly project your voice like that. But I don't think there's a wrong or right way to be doing it as long as you're doing it. Whether that's to 40 people on your Instagram page or to a group of people in your home space, or you got a big following, or like however that looks for you personally, like it's just so important to keep doing it, to keep expressing, to keep putting the art out, and to keep showing up for. If you can't show up for yourself, you got to show up for me. You got to show up for you. You got to show up for we, because like sometimes it's just easier that way. Like whichever one is easier, right? Like,
Yeah,
lean in.
that's huge. So community is like a force multiplier for sure. Like you just that's amazing. That's the blessing of having community. That alone can be so like such an accelerant for self-belief and experiencing the reality that you were
Mhm,
meant to have. Struggled a lot to build community around God XP, and because I was just so inconsistent with the podcast or putting stuff out. And once I become conscious of the people listening and supporting the online courses and stuff, it was like, whoa, there are actually people who are waiting to see what I have to put out
mhm,
today. Community is so
mhm,
powerful. And I think that so much of the validation I was seeking is like, do people want to be a part of this? Do people want to continue to consume this? Instead of just like what I wanted to create, it was like, I want someone else to be blessed by this, you
mhm,
know? Working to create something that other people could
mhm,
enjoy. That didn't feel like an inherent motivation at the time, but it was always like really what I was hoping for was just a community. Like, what are my
mhm.
people,
I think
you
we
know?
all crave that. And even when we don't understand or feel that way, I think it is like innately in us. Like I think we all need tribe. I think that's what we are genuinely here for is connection to self and oneness. We're having different experiences. So maybe this lifetime is a more introspective experience for somebody. But I truly think we all crave that connection. We crave to belong to something. And usually that belonging comes with a belonging and understanding of sense of self. And it's so beautiful that you have found space and community that's around you because you deserve that. Like you are an embodiment of love. And like I've seen that on you since I saw you. I can tell that like you're doing it. And it sounds like you just went through your process of truly like loving self enough to put out what self truly wants to create. Knowing that is a
Yeah.
blessing in and of itself.
Yeah, that's I think that so many people struggle with finding whatever validation they're seeking to be themselves. Like I think we all just want to
Mhm.
be ourselves, and the big challenge of life is like finding whatever excuse to be yourself. We're all looking for some reason to accept ourselves, to love ourselves, you know, and the people that are really striving to create new things, you can almost transparently see that their gift, their art is inextricably linked to their suffer
Mhm.
made them who they are, you know?
Mhm.
And that's just the beautiful thing about the creative process is it's born with great pain and it creates something so
Mhm.
beautiful.
It's very true. Very true. Like literally the healers that I have had fortune of knowing closely are all they've been through it. They just been through it.
What would you say is like the big has been the biggest challenge in creating the live events? If you could think back to the beginning, what was the biggest challenge in getting the live event
Mm,
launched?
what still I think serves to be a problem, like an active team that wants to help make it happen is a totally different thing. The person that was willing to stay until 2:30, 3 in the morning when if the place closes at 2, like, who's willing to stay and help clean up? Like, who's there before the event
Mhm.
to set up? Who's helping with tickets? Who's like, when it comes to throwing a dance battle, like, I did 3 jobs in one. I was the judge, the host, and the timer. So, like, those should be 3 separate jobs, and, like, as it grows, that naturally more people are just like, "How can I help you?" You know? So, I know it's part me not being very good at asking for help, not knowing how really this is all such a new space for me to be in, like, the 3D because I can do it online and I can, like, manage it online, but when it's in real life, there's so much that goes into it, so, having an active team is a really big one. And I think people are blessed before they start endeavors with active community that like is ready to go. In this case, it was more
Right.
like me and then a DJ in my city that was just like, I see exactly what you're doing. Tell me how I can help. So like he has the music part covered, which I'm like so grateful for. Because that's a really big part. And like a lot of people like almost don't even have it because it's hard to get. I was just blessed. No shufflers in my city, but the music scene is just incredible. So I have him on like that side of things. But yeah, just making the connections. Connections are huge. Like I'm so grateful for the connections that were like given to me to make it work, right? Spaces actually started as like meetups first. And then basically the people that would come to the meetups, we would hold these events. So it started with a very small group that literally I was like renting this huge club out for my friends. And we would just have a party ourselves, basically. It was awesome and super lit. But like patience and consistency is really hard, especially when nobody's showing up but you. Like it's really
Right.
important that we believe in our processes so much that we continue to show up fully for ourselves and what we know we're creating, even though it's not there yet. Like it was frustrating because they would even, boom, and then there'd be like two people or no people that showed up at that next meetup. And I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? They hate me. I need to do better. That's it's just the test of consistency. Like, how bad do you want this? Is it worth showing up for regardless? So yeah, I think
Yeah.
battle of just trusting that this community is really present and they want what you have.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you started with workshops, right?
What I started teaching in the city was just random pop-up classes. I've never really had consistent classes. Started workshop or just those classes at a studio called Barrio was actually the first studio. I taught a couple kid classes. I taught at the gym that I taught tumbling at. I taught kids there too. So there's a lot of youth in Madison that actually knows this. So I'm expecting like, they're all like 12, but I'm thinking like when they're like 21, there might be a full blown shuffle scene in Madison that like, holy crap, all
Yeah.
these kids know this dance and they know it. Like they really know it. It's gonna be cool. Um, some of like the
That's
15-year
sick.
shufflers who are like the first ones in these states that like knew the dance, they started when they were kids with LMFAO's video, right? Like I even know some of the people that were like in that video. Um, so like
Wow.
it's crazy to think of how this dance can like rejuvenate like that in a space like this. But yeah, I did all the teaching classes first, and then I started to host. I did a couple of like 4-hour workshop like experiences where like we're really getting into like the nitty gritty of elevated. Like I even did like inversions and understanding like how important it is to understand your alignment inverted. So whether that's just literally laying on the floor or what. Uh, and then step into frequency started as a full event and work classes beforehand, like a beginners. At first, I just did one class and I realized like people that can't yet really fully balance on one leg and step it down on account, like that's a totally different beginner than somebody that like is that super athletic and can do the running man like within a couple instructions, right? So I needed like a true beginner and a more advanced class. But yeah, it has its own space for everything. And the dance battle added a whole new element to it. We had like live painters at it. We had a vendor at it. Like it was like a full event. And I was like, this is, yeah, it was so organic too. I didn't really try. As soon as I understood that it was the 1 year anniversary, because I didn't even understand at first. I like got all excited, made really like beautiful canvas for it, like put my intention well more behind it as if it wasn't already. Of course, like we had to celebrate a little bit more, but it organically matched that energy. And there was just like beautiful people all around it. By far the biggest event. We got asked to do like a more consistent event there. In which I was allowed then to set my own boundary because like naturally you're like, you want to do a monthly, like, yeah, sign me up. And then I'm like, wait, this is a lot of energy for me, like a lot of energy. And until I have like a full blown team that like I can delegate some of this energy with, maybe bi-monthly. Like, thank you for the offer, but I think I need
Yeah.
this actually. And um it feels really good because we did 4 of them in 1 year and now maybe we'll do 6 of them in 1 year. And it was amazing.
I'm super inspired by just the event. Such a good sign that you found like synchronicity with other people. As someone who's a true practitioner and devotee of dance, what makes dance so powerful and so inherent in the human experience?
I look at it as the partner to a song, right? The frequency in which music and singing and speaking is like a vital part of like our expression. Yes, expressing as being. Movement is that. And we could talk about dance and learning dance style and understanding that is language. And it's really cool to be able to walk up to somebody of a certain culture and do their dance to them and have them respond to that dance
Mm,
and have this conversation that is not of speaking and how beautiful that is. But going back to like the deeper understanding that every single thing is dance, everything. Like the way that I choose to like reach for my water and drink it, the way I wash my dishes, the way I do my laundry, the way that I engage with my animals, like everything is a dance. And once we understand life as such, everything makes more sense. Like everything gets
mm,
easier and better and it makes more sense. And you are just dancing with everything. And if you can take as a dancer who does battle, who does like dance for real, the fact that I can take that into my training is what makes me arguably a good dancer in that world too. Not just dancer of life, but I've taken life into my dance and like can use it through my expression of movement at all times. So yeah, like thinking of yoga because yoga started for me as a dance. Like I was just moving and wiggling on the mat to music. Yes, I was stretching. Yes, I was working out. Yes, I was doing a lot of things. But like first and foremost, we were tuned into the music and the music was
mm.
moving us. So like leaning into like sound, like you said. Everything is music, right? Like even silence, there is music, there is sound going on, and you can't get away from that. So, like, as equally as we allow that truth to be, we allow our body to respond to such a sound, right? And if that sound can be our breath always, first and foremost, we like mastered it. We got it. Like there is obviously no full mastery of it, but like that is the closest thing that we can be to fully present is having breath stimulated by frequency guiding movement.
Wow, that's fascinating. I love that. Why yoga then? Why share yoga?
I think so much of yoga, like I said, I was already doing it. So reading it and going through a teacher training and having there be like words for my experiences was like, holy crap, I'm living this truth already. Like I didn't have to learn
Mm,
it from here, but I learned how to teach it from there and how to speak it better and like, pass it easier. Just like anything else, any other practice that we can be passing on a narrative of the ego. Like there are things in it that I don't fully resonate with. Therefore, like I don't claim to teach anything fully, right? Like in my yoga experiences, I'm gonna have people do things that they've never seen in yoga before. You know what I mean? And they're gonna be like, this isn't yoga. And I'm like, well, you signed up for elevated movement, not necessarily yoga, right? Like this is some
right.
of my like what mixes in the pot to make me, but I don't even claim I'm always teaching elevated movement. Yeah. So yeah, I think the 8 limbs of yoga are a very digestible and like authoritative transcript to live life. Like I think the 8 limbs in their own self are just so beautiful. And I think it's so powerful to be so freely able to talk to people about well, I can't do yoga. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think yoga is? Right. Like, and just like
Mm,
what you are going to pin yoga on is that third limb. And I'm going to teach you real quick that this is one part of 8. Yes. And like that, I think is such an easy conversation to have with people that just like their mind. And I think even if they don't lean into yoga necessarily after that, they'll lean into something understanding that like there's way more depth in this movement stuff than we're talking about.
mm.
It's not just about looking pretty and having your body be fit. Like we're really doing some like serious work while aligning the body to align the soul.
That's so beautiful. So, beside the prescription of dance and yoga, what would you say to someone who's looking to have more alignment in their life and like follow it once they find it? Like, what would be your advice to someone if they were just like in a dead end and they're like, you know what, I want to start fresh. I want to get aligned, but I don't know where to start. What would you say to that person?
So space and time and connection and whatever that means for you. A big part of Elev8ed is nature, like huge root of Elev8ed is nature and our truest connection to nature. And if you will, like the earth, the feminine presence of being in your body is going to come a lot easier when your feet are bare out in the grass. Like it's just gonna like make more sense. You can understand it. Sounds weird as shit, but go hug the tree. Like literally, like just be present with nature. Because we are it. And whether like bugs scare us and dirt is not cool or like whatever, wherever you're at with your connection to nature. Um, if fear is present when you are in association with thinking about nature, that is a huge block that needs to be addressed and needs to be looked at. I don't care who you are. If the bugs scare you and the dirt scares you and like that's like a lot for you, we got to sit with it because it's just us. That's us. Like we are also that dirt and those bugs and like it is just like all part of the oneness. So it has all the answers, like literally every single answer I believe you can find out in nature. But there's practices of creating space for yourself in meditation, which goes along with dance and yoga, of course, but truly just sitting with self in silence is so powerful. And, you know, working through the frustration and then what's on the other side of like, well, this is boring. I can't do this. What is this? Like, but actually just like, if you don't know where to go, keep making space until it's really hard to slow all the way down. But sometimes we're so far off the path that we're at a dead end. We don't know where to go because we're so far over there. And the only way to like tune in on back where to go is like to just stop all the way and just sit. Really powerful to just sit. Also really powerful to write. Like you don't know what needs to come out until you give it a channel. Um, so evaluating life on what's working, what's not working. I like to give clients the 8 dimensions of wellness. I think that's a really good like starting place too. If you just look that up, I mean, they're easy to like think of, right? Your environment, your social structure, your occupation, your financial wellness. There's all these dimensions of wellness that sometimes like we don't fully consider. Like, oh, that's our well-being. All of that stuff makes up our well-being. We can't just be super spiritual and be happy. Like, there's so much that goes into our happiness because we are in the 3D flesh. So I think evaluation, like constructive evaluation of what's working and not working in your life and what calls you in life, what actually like lights you up and like makes your body like come alive. Like there's something in that, whether that's the
Mm,
something you're gonna do forever or the next step. You should just done the
mhm.
laundry when it felt good,
Yeah.
and just truly trusting that we know what's best. Our body knows what's best, our highest self. Love that analogy of like you've just been like dragged around by your highest self. Like I say, I've been pushed. Like it feels like I'm being like pushed from behind, and I'm like sometimes got my heels dug into the ground,
Mhm.
but I'm still like going. Yeah, like of just leaning in, even though it seems weird to do laundry when you have a lot of homework. Whatever it might be, just lean into what feels good and create and keep following that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's huge and great advice. I just love that you keep saying create space because it sounds like such a magical thing about
Is
being alive is you can create both time and space.
Mhm.
See, that's reality in itself. Like what else is there but time and space? And yet you are the wielder and creator of both. If you can tap into that, it's just an awareness of the present moment. And that is like a spiritual wisdom I've realized in my life through my experiences and that you have too, and many other people who even come on this podcast have shared. That's the shared realization of like understanding the power that we each have in ourselves, to create both time and space to create a new reality.
Most often that time and space, like it just creates awareness in where there's blockages. What's in my way? Like, why do I feel stuck? Where it might be like, what is there? And like, such a huge part of Elev8ed is being able to not only like sit with somebody and identify blockages, whether it be in the mind, or even in the body as I watch posture, and like be able to like look at the body, especially when it's moving and be like, there is a physical block happening right here. It's not moving. Like we gotta like, you need to sit with your eyes closed and your breath and like literally just think about this area and find, like, if you're not present and patient with yourself to like move through that, it's gonna stay blocked and in your way. And like, you can manifest all you want. You can go for whatever you want, but that block is gonna sit there until addressed.
Right.
And like, for me, that's the battle always, because the rest, once the channel is clear, the rest is effortless. Like, I don't sit there and like, never done a vision board. I don't know if that's like taboo. I shouldn't say that or something, but like, I don't, like, I'm really just leaning in because like I know what feels right. And unblocking is the main goal. Getting rid of like whatever has hindered our process up to this point, whatever's hindering it currently, and whatever might hinder it. Like just clearing space.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. Like, it's been absolutely incredible. Thank you for the conversation.
Absolutely. No, it's been an honor and a blessing, and for sure we could do this again, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
But last thing, like how can we support you? Where should people follow you? Yeah.
Um, so everything elevated is with, everyone wants to spell it with a T. I kind of skipped 2 letters, but elevated everything, elevatedmovement.com, elevated movement on Instagram. There's an elevated movement on Facebook, which kind of is just regeneration of the Instagram right now. I would say I'm probably most active on Instagram if you want to find me there. Yeah, there's online programs on there. I'm planning a whole like restructure coming soon. Um, I am planning to tour coming soon, whenever the universe aligns that for us. Me and my sister will come and teach all over the country. So definitely heads up for that. And yeah, if you are interested in any like private work, if you want to just have a conversation real quick to see if like we privately like would work together well, I would say I love being in class space, but one-on-one is definitely the way in which I can personally look at you and your body and your situation and create systems that can help move whatever that might be in your life, physical, not, is all non-physical, right? That physically manifests. So yeah, just moving through all of that is a lot of fun. I find a lot of purpose with working one-on-one with people for sure.
That's so awesome. Chelsee, you're amazing, and I've found this very insightful. Let's definitely do it again soon.
Yes, please. It was so nice to connect with you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Chelsee Ramos.
Bless you. Thank you.